up, my channel? Welcome back to another video. I'm Jessie and you're watching. This video is going to be a continuation of the discussion that I had in my last discussion video on Muggate 2021, otherwise known as Owlcrate's the mess that Owlcrate has gotten themselves into. And so if you haven't seen that discussion, definitely watch that video first because I don't want you to be lost in the sauce. So check that video out if you have not already. So Owlcrate recently released an apology and the community, the bookish community, is incredibly divided about this apology. And so in this video, I am going to be reading the apology that Owlcrate has issued in regards to the trouble they got themselves into. I'm going to be reacting to the apology, reading some of your comments that you left on my Instagram regarding how you felt about this apology, as well as reading and reacting to the comments on the post itself. Now, before we hop right into all of the madness that this video is going to contain, there's something I really want to express very quickly to my subscribers, those of you who've been following me for a long time. I recently hit 30K and that, look, the smile on my face is designer, okay? It was a huge joy to us. I just wanted to say a big thank you. Those of y'all who have been long-term subscribers of this channel, definitely stay tuned to the end because I have a mini announcement, a little surprise for y'all, something that you've been asking me to do for quite some time. It's finally happening, and this video is essentially just my big way of saying thank you. So it's not going to make any sense right now. I know, you're all confused, but I just wanted to say that at the start of the video, so that y'all knew, okay, I'm just gonna shut up. We're just gonna get into the apology. I said this in the very first video that I made regarding the reaction video that I made regarding Owlcrate's decision to continue with. I did not want to make this video. Look, I was content with putting out the first video. I was reading Vicious by V. Schwab, minding my own business, and then I get a DM from one of you lovely individuals.
Jessie, what do you think of the Owlcrate apology?
And I'm like, apology? And so I'm going to be reacting to this apology in this video and seeing if it's an apology or an apology. Little dad joke humor I came up with there. Get it? Apology, like appall, as in it's appall. I know that if you have to explain the joke, it's not funny. Please don't unsubscribe. I just hit 30K. Alright, I'm stalling because I don't want to do this. I peeked at the apology and I saw a lot and I went, oh my god. So I just reposted it and said, I'm screaming. And the reason I said I'm screaming wasn't because I read the apology, but because, again, here we go with another novella. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to save the whole reading until this video so we can all suffer together, you know? Here we go. Almost 5,000 likes.
It better be good.
Dear Owlcrate community, Corina here. I am so incredibly sorry for the hurt and disappointment I have caused with my previous decision to continue Harry Potter inspired merchandise. I spent the past week listening to your feedback and consulting with others in the community. I want to thank the people who took the time to help me understand that this decision was a mistake. I realize that privately appreciating the series and acknowledging the good it has brought into my life is very different from promoting it through my business. Although these items were unofficial and not financially benefiting the author directly, it is still active promotion of a brand that is hurting many people in the transgender community. While trying to reconcile my own personal relationship with the series, I lost sight of the very real harm continued platforming of the brand causes. I understand and take full responsibility for the pain and sense of betrayal this has called, not a sense of betrayal. I'm sorry. I just, for some reason, I pictured
Not me going through puberty on camera.
I pictured myself walking through the mall, trying to get a new perfume. And a perfumier, what are the people called who sell perfumes? They're officially called perfumiers as of right
freaking now. As you can see, I don't shop for Okay.
Moving on. Excuse me, individual, would you like to try this new shit? And I'm like, yo, that sounds interesting. What's the new shit? And they go, this is called the sense of betrayal. I'm gonna be single forever.
Forever.
As such, this is how we plan to move forward. From this day on, we will no longer include any Harry Potter inspired merchandise in our subscription boxes, both Owlcrate and Owlcrate Jr., or as separate items in our shop. We have stopped sales for the mugs effective immediately and have removed them from our shop. Any mug orders that have been previously placed will be fulfilled. However, 100% of the mug pre-order profits will be donated to charity. In addition to the 20% donation mentioned in the original post going towards the Trevor Project, the World Literacy Foundation, and 826 National, we will also be donating the remaining 80% of the profits to the Transgender Law Center. We have also made an immediate donation of $10,000 to the National Center for Transgender Equality. We will continue to support the transgender community, or begin to support, continue is going a little far, by featuring trans authors, artists, shops in our boxes. Continued in the comments. Here we go. Okay, so I'm like scrolling through the comments and I don't see the continuation. So on my end, I'm not seeing where this is continued in the comments. That's the only comment I see from Owlcrate. And I'm just going to thank my lucky stars for that because I don't want to read another novella. That was the apology. Very solid. Let's look into the comments section. Beloved trans author Mason Deaver commented, I'm glad to see that you've acknowledged the hurt you've caused and are taking steps to apologize for your mistakes. Hopefully we can all continue to grow from this situation. Mason Deaver is an incredible author whom I absolutely adore. And personally, I feel the same. I do have mixed feelings about this apology, but the first thing that I'm going to say about it is that I really like it. I like that the company essentially said, hey, acknowledge the wrong that I did, and here are the steps, here are the things that I'm going to do to correct it, and this mistake will not be made in the future, which I think is a good thing. So next, we have a comment that says, I am happy to see you took the feedback about the harm you were causing to heart and have made these concrete steps towards making amends. Now, this is where the comment section gets sticky. So that comment ends up kind of turning into a thread where one person who is trans and bisexual comments, I don't need you to protect me from other people's opinions, LOL. And another person responds, for one, it's not just opinions when her words, aka J.K. Rowling's, are being used in anti-trans legislation like the original poster said. Two, just because you don't feel the harm doesn't mean that you can negate anybody else's harm from J.K. Rowling. This is something that I said in my first video. We talked about how there are trans people in the trans community who are fine with J.K. Rowling. And I fully support and protect the right of trans individuals to have a complex, messy relationship with this author and with these works. We're not a monolith. I said this in my first video, but that's what makes our community so great, is that we're not all the same. And while I personally absolutely do not support J.K. Rowling in any way, shape, or form, I do support trans people having their own complicated relationships to her and her work. But what I don't support is trans people stepping in to say because they personally don't feel harmed or affected, that means that all other trans people are overreacting. That's something that we're not going to do. And on the same thread, this individual comments, if a company selling Harry Potter items is causing you harm, then you need to get your head checked. First of all, you're not even funny. Like, you really thought you popped off, huh? You typed this out and you were like, woohoo, you better cover that burn with a sterile bandage, baby, because I gotcha. The funniest part about this comment is how funny that the OP thinks that they were. So this is the interesting thing that I am noticing right away going through this post, is that the comments on this post, on the apology, are extremely different than the comments on the original post where Owlcrate comes out as deciding to go back to selling this merchandise. Well, personally, I saw overwhelmingly comments that were against Owlcrate making this decision. I saw mainly comments from people in the community, both trans and cisgender, being like, hey, we don't want this. We don't support this. This is not a good idea. Plenty of people commenting and crying about the mugs and how much they wanted them and how their lives literally will not be complete if they don't get their mug collection. I'm sorry. I'm just really having trouble saying that with a straight face. And it's not even just because I'm queer. But what's interesting about this post is that I'm seeing the vast majority of the comments being very upset that Owlcrate has decided to stop being affiliated with Harry Potter in any way and is no longer going to be continuing with the production of the mugs. And that's like really interesting. Comment down below if you know why that is or if you have theories. Curious. Maybe it will make more sense as we go through these comments. We'll see. One person says, ooh, gold star for finding your moral compass, I guess.
Not a star.
Oh my god. That's I really want to make a Philip Pullman joke, but I'm gonna leave that alone because he's transphobic too. I don't believe for one moment that Owlcrate is truly remorseful. They didn't have a problem until authors, artists, and businesses collaborators started publicly calling them out for supporting J.K. Rowling instead of the trans community. It is all a business move, not a moral or come to senses move. Okay, look. This is where my feelings get complicated because I'm just going to spit it out. I'm just going to say it like flat out. Owlcrate did not have a change of heart. Karina is not sorry. Karina did not make a mistake. If you remember from the first post, she explicitly says, I'll go back to the post. You know what? Let's revisit. Don't take my word for it. Don't listen to us. In the original post, she says,
this kills me.
Okay, so in the original post, Karina explicitly says, I know for some people they may not understand. I completely respect your decision and understand if this causes you to unfollow us and no longer support our business. She also goes on to say that she is choosing to love and support the transgender community without ridding my life/business of Harry Potter. Those are all incredibly important keywords, and I'm going to talk about why in a moment. But before I get into that, there's one more thing I want to highlight about the apology. She literally says, in the apology, I want to thank the people who took the time to help me understand that this decision was a mistake. In the first post, Karina made it explicitly clear that she heard, knew, and understood all of the reasons for why somebody would want to unfollow and no longer support her business if they are affiliated in any way, shape, or form with Harry Potter, aka J.K. Rowling. Period. She made that explicitly clear that she knew and understood. There was a point in the original post where she talked about how it's everyone else's personal choice. She talks about completely being able to grasp the situation and understanding, and how that this was a personal choice she made for herself and how that was what was best for her. Okay, so that's one important thing to get straightforward. Karina knew. She was extremely well aware, as somebody who is deeply, deeply immersed in the Harry Potter world and loves it, and who's also a part of the book community. She has been a part of conversations, has been listening surrounding the harm that J.K. Rowling has wreaked on trans communities. And not even just trans communities, but several other communities as well. She was so well aware of the fact that some people would unsubscribe that she mentioned it in the post. She said, you are welcome to leave. I'm doing this for my business and you can go. So the thing that really bothers me about this apology, the only thing really, because I think overall, I really do think it's a solid apology. But the one thing that frustrates me just a little is that she's acting as if she had no idea that it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, sweetie. It was a choice. You made a choice and you told us outright that you were making a decision, an informed decision. You were given the facts. You told us that you knew the facts and that you were making a choice that was incongruous with them anyway because, and I quote from the original post, I'm following my heart. And that's what's best for me.
I remember that clearly.
This apology would mean so much more to me personally if she just flat out owned up. She knew this information so well that a year ago, she publicly announced that she was no longer going to be associating her business with Harry Potter. Listen to me. Look into my eyes. Nothing that is being said on the Owlcrate page right now, on the original post regarding her decision to go back to selling the mugs or in the apology, none of that is new. There is not one funking thing that someone has said in these comments in the last week or two that Karina didn't already know. This was information that she was given well over a year ago, to the point where she made a decision publicly to depart her business from the franchise as a result of the information that she was given. Another person says, damn, y'all are damning Owlcrate either one way or another. I think that this is something that a lot of people get frustrated with when a company apologizes for something in general. They're like, yo, the company is sorry. Why are people still mad? Okay, so if you're still gonna be mad, then why apologize in the first place, right? Why should companies even bother to change their ways if y'all are still gonna be mad? Here's my perspective on that. Just because somebody apologizes even if the apology is stellar, right? Even if it is a perfect, immaculate apology, it is heartfelt and sincere. It completely owns up to everything, right? Even if that apology is packaged and perfect, the person that you're giving the apology to is not obligated to accept it, right? If I buy you a coat and I love the coat and I put my whole heart and soul into finding this coat for you, and I give you the coat and you say, this doesn't feel like me. It doesn't feel right to me. This coat doesn't serve me. You're not obligated to put that coat on and wear it out into the world simply because I put my heart and soul and I had good intentions in giving it to you. Does this make sense? It is a very weird analogy. I don't know why I chose a coat. Again, just like how I say trans people are allowed to have conflicting opinions on the whole J.K. Rowling Harry Potter situation, etc., individuals are allowed to make individual decisions regarding how they feel about a company's behavior. There are plenty of people, aka Mason Deaver, so many people in the comment section who are like, yeah, great, thank you. This is what we wanted. This is what we needed. Wonderful. And there are also people who feel differently, and that is okay. It's ride on this idea that forgiveness is a linear thing. It's not. The other thing that I want to say regarding this comment is, in my opinion, it's not about operating your business in a way that will always make everybody happy. It's about your moral compass, right? This is the unfortunate thing about this situation in particular. It's a little bit different than like a usual company blunder, right? And let's be honest, Owlcrate put themselves in this situation when they, a year ago, said that they weren't going to be associated with Harry Potter anymore. I talked about this in the first video, but as a result of them making that decision, there were a lot of queer and trans people who became a part of the business because they felt safe and comfortable doing so, where they didn't before, given Owlcrate's association with Harry Potter. And so Owlcrate stood up and proudly proclaimed themselves an ally, and they said, yes, we're washing our hands of Harry Potter. We are a trans ally, and we're gonna walk our talk. And there are lots of people in the community who then felt safe and comfortable being with them. You really can't act surprised that so many people see this apology as fake, because it's already happened. We were already here. We were here a year ago. Not only were we here a year ago, but she made a whole post defending her decision to go back to reselling Harry Potter merchandise. It's not like this is the very first time Owlcrate is hearing about everything that J.K. Rowling has done against the trans community and other oppressed communities. Do you know what I'm saying? I would feel differently if it was a kind of a mistake of ignorance. And of course, I have opinions about that too. But like, if we're going to oversimplify it, right? It's not as if we're talking about a business who, I don't know, dropped a kitten on the floor and said, oops, my bad, I dropped a kitten.
What is with these analogies, Jesse?
We're talking about a business who dropped a kitten not once, but twice. And then the second time, they picked the kitten up and they wrote a long letter to all the kittens at the shelter explaining why it was okay that they decided to drop the kitten. And then when other people were like, hey, you said you weren't going to do that,
now all of a sudden they're sorry.
I find this comment to be a little bit short-sighted because you're acting as if Owlcrate didn't know what they were doing. They did. You know they did. Absolutely not. This is too little too late. You guys waited a week to make this statement, during which you responded to positive feedback about the Harry Potter post and continued to promote it. I hope the book community doesn't forget this post, because the trans community certainly hasn't. First world American privilege. Oh my God, first world American privilege, getting to spend time bullying a small business into submission because they posted about a series that makes your tummy hurt. You know what's always funny about people who use the term first world / American privilege? Have you noticed how they never use this term in application to their own life? They only use it when people are speaking up about things that they're upset about in their country. You know what I'm saying? You will pay for that in the next life, so that's none of my business. It's so interesting because her page, it screams privilege. And it's just so interesting because the only time this person ever deems fit to speak about the ways in which Americans are privileged is when criticizing oppressed groups in America who are speaking up against their oppression. It's so fascinating the way that the term first world / American privilege gets wielded as a weapon precisely by people who have the most privilege in the goddamn world. But that's none of my business. What about those of us that want to get them, but we're waiting to get the money together to grab them? And someone else says, then make your own. What about the mugs? All the cis people in the comments debating whether or not they accept this apology. It's not for you. This, someone else commented, this is why I asked for the opinions of trans people. Cis people in the comments, so cis meaning not transgender, cis people definitely can make their own decisions about whether or not they want to continue supporting Owlcrate, right? But there are a lot of cisgender people in the comments that are debating like the merit of the apology, which I do understand, like I do get why that's happening, but it is important to acknowledge that this apology is for the communities that were harmed by this decision. And that's not just the trans community, but the trans community is being centered. And so it's important to not go onto this post and center yourself and your cis identity when you were not the one who was being harmed, if this makes sense. Now, let's talk about this person who is just through the comments, you know, asking and talking about whether or not the people who are speaking up are trans. I'm curious, how many people who have commented here are transgender? If you are, please let me know what your opinion on this is. I see what this person is trying to do, and I honestly know it's well intended, but it is so problematic. Let's talk about why. First of all, not everybody who is transgender is out as trans. And so you can't quantify the percentage of people that are giving their non-trans opinion versus their trans opinion, because closeted people exist. And it's not even just closeted, but some people might not be comfortable just speaking about being trans on Instagram, and they might be out in their personal lives. And sometimes this is how a lot of us find our voice. Getting involved in these conversations and tiptoeing our way in slowly is sometimes a step into coming out. This is an awful take. Like, please don't leave comments like this. I know what you're trying to do, but you're not executing it well. I know that the whole point of this is being like, hey, I want to hear from the community who's actually being affected and not the opinions of only allies. I do get the logic here, but you're not doing what you think you're doing. You know what I'm saying? As a trans person, I'm not sure if you are doing this because you are really sorry or because actual authors and big bookstagrammers called you out. In any case, I'm only glad money will be given to actual trans charities out of all this mess. I agree especially about the charity part. What annoyed me regarding the whole we're donating percentages of the proceeds to charity was that none of the charities that they were donating to was specifically trans. And please stop saying, oh, well, they donated to the Trevor Project, which is awesome. I love the Trevor Project, but the Trevor Project is not exclusively a transgender charity, and it is not up for debate. They should have been donating to trans charities. Period. Charities that focus exclusively on transness. Also, a few of you in the last video commented and let me know that they also raised the price of the mugs to account for the donations that they were sending to charity. I haven't confirmed that, but that is something that multiple of y'all told me, which
I'm just horrified.
It didn't even occur to me that I cannot with this company. Why y'all acting brand new? As if these very conversations haven't been happening for the past year. Okay, that's what I'm saying though. I suppose it's likely, albeit doubtful, that these conversations slipped by you unnoticed and unacknowledged, but I find that difficult to believe. I hope you are for real committed to your brand spanking new allyship. Not a brand spanking new. Since this is the second time it's happened, and for your transparency, sharing the receipts of your donation would be a welcomed addition to your newfound allyship to the trans community, quite literally putting your money where your mouth is. I've seen multiple comments about asking for Owlcrate to publicize their proof of donations, and I would love to hear what y'all's thoughts are on that, because there are a lot of people are like, okay, so are you actually donating though? I'm glad that you've taken time to reflect. I'm also glad you've donated, although it'd be helpful to see the receipts. However, this isn't the first time I've tried to inform you about the harm Harry Potter does. I commented on your post last year and also emailed you about it. With that being said, I know I'll stay unsubscribed. I wish you and Owlcrate the best in the future and that you follow through on including more trans stories, especially ones written by trans authors. There are tons of them. This comment comes from somebody who is in the trans community who I absolutely adore and respect. And also a bunch of you let me know, this I didn't know in the last video, Owlcrate pulled this stunt during the first time that they had a trans author featured, and it was too late for the author to pull their book from the box for this month, and it just put this author in a terrible predicament, which is its own form of violence. Someone else says, not my apology to accept. Exactly. But also, I guess your sales tanked and this is another PR stunt, which I'm wishing it's not. I want to believe and support you like I used to, but I also remembered you did have one whole year to think through about Harry Potter, but you still proceeded with your decision that you posted a few days ago. Clown emoji. So again, not my apology to accept, but I'm afraid I won't show any kind of support anymore. Hoping you will grow far much more wiser from this experience. I received comments on the first video I made regarding Owlcrate where people were like, oh, like, you know, this video is cool, but it sucks that Owlcrate's gonna get all of this publicity and attention and, like, you know, subs from this. And I remember thinking, I was like, I really don't think so though, because I saw the comments on the first post. The book community was not having it. Like, the book community was really like standing up and being like, we're not supporting this. I'm not interested in subscribing to your box. Like, I knew that they were losing subscribers because of their decision. I knew that they were losing a lot of money, and I really didn't think that this was going to benefit their business in any way. I knew it would be nothing but a hindrance. However, the fact that the apology was issued still surprised me because she was so confident in her first post. So now let's talk about the comments that y'all left on the post that I made on my Instagram story. And I was like, hey, leave some comments here. I would love to know what your personal thoughts are. Just screams losing profit. They saw all those subscription canceled emails. And then there's this like well-intending comment that says, no opinion here, but why do you do this to yourselves? Take care. Heart emoji. Going to make an assumption here that this person is not transgender, although again, trans folks are not a monolith. But I think that most trans individuals would understand why I, as a trans person, feel the need to comment on this issue that affects me, that affects the community that I love and like to participate in. I have gone my whole life not being able to speak up about issues that affect me and hurt me. And now that I finally found my voice, I'm going to use it if and whenever I see fit, if and whenever it's comfortable for me to do so. And so if I say, as a trans person, that I am making the decision for myself to speak up about an issue, then I would like it if people did not jump in and question my choice to wield my own autonomy. It only took her a week of comments to realize what we all knew from the start. When I read this, I thought she must have seen your video and lost a lot of customers. Money talks. I'm just saying, well, I guess they lost more subscribers, money bags, than they could afford. Wasn't gonna buy a subscription, past, present, future. This changes nothing. I can't stand y'all. Y'all are V.E. Schwab vicious. People are still complaining about their stupid mug collections and want proof of donation. There, I agree. There was a lot of mug crying in the comments. Y'all know that the Harry Potter mugs are like everywhere, right? You could... Okay. I need a non-transphobic mug to catch all the turf tears in the comments so I can drink them.
Hold on.
I got mine. I like these two comments. I feel like Owlcrate is backtracking / bullshitting hard. I don't trust them at all. Still not resubscribing though. For me, they showed their true colors and these colors are ugly. It's similar to the baby thing, I think. While it's great they listened, why only when it hurt the business? First of all, what's the baby thing? What's the baby? I frequently don't know what's actually going on in the book community. I've never heard about the baby anymore. Somebody give me the tea. Honestly, like, this was something that I was sitting and wrestling with. I know I'm joking and I'm making light of it, but it's so frustrating for me and for a lot of people. It sucks that this is what it takes in order to get change. It literally didn't have to be this way. People, businesses, corporations, etc. always love saying, we want you to be nice to us. We want you to calmly explain to us why we, shouldn't do oppressive things, etc. We want you to educate us, like, gently and calmly and wonderfully. And I sure wish that worked, but we have seen time and time again that it doesn't. It just doesn't. And it sucks that this is what it takes. It takes people making videos. It takes multiple comments. It takes backlash. It takes scandal. It takes money, right? It takes mass amounts of people walking away from a company and being like, F this, F you. I'm not going to support. I'm not going to stand for this. You're not listening. We tried to speak to you nicely and you didn't listen to us. And now we're done. Now we're entirely done and we don't trust you anymore. It sucks that it takes that level of of intensity in order for people to listen. It really frustrates me. Yeah, it messes me up, and it breaks my heart. I hate that. I hate that that's what it takes for people to listen, for companies to do better. And it's always money, and it's always loudness, right? It's always backlash, and it's never like a softly spoken word. It's never a well-written letter. There were trans people who were leaving wonderful, like taking the time to write like letters, nice emails, and comments that were just like entirely civil that went ignored. It wasn't until we got to this point. It wasn't until the backlash reached a level that was insurmountable to ignore, until it became a roar, until it burst and bled out into anger, that Karina cared. It's so upsetting. It's so upsetting to see that this amount of people is what it takes for our lives to matter. It just breaks my heart, and I'm so tired of, like, I love the world, but sometimes it just makes me so sick. It just makes me so sick sometimes. Someone else says, I'm glad that so many people cancel their subscription since money's the only way to make an impact. This is what I'm saying. I think they just got scared of losing money. Like, you can clearly see it on the way the post is written. If not for public backlash and mass unsubscribing, they would still be continuing the sale. They said the support better last this time. I'm out. This channel's done. Just shut it down. Just turn the lights off. I'm over it. Fuck it. I'm leaving. I don't want to be here anymore. I am dead. I am a corpse. Oh my God. Bury me in Hugo Boss. Whew. I just can't understand their thought process through any of what's happened in the last week. Okay, well, now a good artist is out of business. Eye roll emoji. How is this an improvement? Have y'all seen these mugs? I'm sorry. I don't want to be the one to say it. Seriously, real talk. This is a genuine question. I'm genuinely curious. This artist who's like out of business, when she was born, did Maleficent curse her with only being able to make Harry Potter work? Is that the only way she can be an artist, is if she does Harry Potter stuff? That's my first question, okay? And second, if that is not the case, there is obviously hundreds, if not thousands, of people who are very upset about not having transphobic mugs. And so I am certain that if any of those people truly want their mug collection finished, that they can DM and buy one through her and have it mailed, and it'll be even extra special. I'm curious, how many of y'all who are really like dying, pulling your hair out over the fact that you're not gonna have your mug collection finished, how many of y'all are actually like going out of your way to support this artist? Are y'all sending her donations? Are y'all asking to commission Harry Potter work from her? Or are you just whining about it on the Owlcrate comment? I'm just curious. I've just got so many questions here. Also, last question. This is just a bunch of hypotheticals here. You know how there were comments talking about how like first world privilege and like American problems, like America. The epitome of first world privilege is crying about the fact that you can't get your mug collection finished. And we're sensitive. We at least are upset about, human beings. You upset about a piece of ceramic? Am I missing something? Like, I don't get y'all. The post lost me at Karina here. But love to thank all the cis people in the comments for accepting an apology that's not meant for them. I'm fucking screaming. Does this mean that anyone is obligated to forgive them or resubscribe to the box? No. They need to live with the consequences of their actions and the effects they have on their business. Maybe it teaches them to think twice before making these kinds of decisions in the future. This is another thing that I think is really important to bring up. I love this point. This was a comment that somebody DM'd me. It was part of a longer comment, but this was the part that like I really wanted to speak on, is that it like I said earlier in the video, nobody is obligated to forgive you for anything ever. And if you truly believe in your apology, whether it's accepted or not doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. If you only issue an apology so that it will be accepted, then you're not truly sorry. If I run up and stab you in the tummy and I'm like, yo, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And you go, excuse me? I don't accept this apology. And my sorrow automatically vanishes, then I was never sorry in the first place. That's not how apologies work. That's not how changes of heart work. if at any point in time you are ever apologizing for something so that people will no longer be upset with you, then you've already missed the point of an apology. That's the first thing I want to say. The second is like, yes, we learned this. I don't know about y'all, but I did. Actions and consequences, and those consequences are going to leave lasting effects on her business. Now, it is my sincere, genuine hope, I am not kidding, like I genuinely hope that she takes all of these criticisms that she has learned and learned again and puts them back into her business, and then goes on to have like a long, healthy business that like profits and doesn't harm communities. I hope that she learns from these mistakes, but that she also never forgets them, because that is how we learn from our mistakes. I have made mistakes. I have made mistakes in the book community and in my own personal life. I have to live with the consequences of those mistakes every day of my life, and I should. That is what accountability looks like. I have made mistakes in my own business, and those are mistakes that are never going to go away. Those are mistakes that I have to own and accept and remember so that I don't make them again in the future. That is what it is to have a business, okay? And yes, it hurts and it's painful and it can be scary, but if you're going to operate a business, that is what comes with it. And this doesn't just apply to businesses. It applies to individuals in their personal lives too. But it is something that businesses damn sure need to think about and be mindful of every single day that they're operating. And again, as we have learned, unfortunately, sometimes it takes call out. Sometimes it takes public accountability. Sometimes it takes messes for people to change their ways, to realize they've made a mistake, to whatever, to stop doing their actions, to do a 180. This is what it takes, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it, but like, if it works, it works, you know? And I also want to say, people are allowed to be angry. You are entitled to your anger. You are entitled to feel whatever it is that you feel. No business, no corporation, no troll in the comment section can ever take that away from you. I don't know if I was very eloquent in this video. It's just, I have a lot of mixed thoughts. Overall, I'm really glad that Karina issued an apology. Whether or not I think that the apology was genuine isn't important to me. What's important to me is that she doesn't make these mistakes going forward in her business, because that is going to have ripples well beyond her. Ripples that she can't even see as a cis person. As far as me, like as a trans person, I definitely accept this apology. Yes, of course, I question its authenticity, but the authenticity of it matters much less to me than her not indirectly supporting J.K. Roachling in any way, shape, or form and leaving ripples that will affect trans communities. Yeah, okay, I'm really sweaty. I hope you enjoyed this video. The surprise that I had in this video that I wanted to share was that for me reaching 30K, I wanted to announce that I now have a Patreon. I have been asked for a long time. I've had my channel for I think almost 3 years, maybe 3 years. I don't know how long I've had this channel. And people have been asking me for a while for me to start Patreon, but I've never felt like I deserved to have one. I never felt like I was big enough. I don't think that there is a size amount that you need in order to have a Patreon. If you have 500 subscribers and you want to start a Patreon, go for it. I love that for you. I just personally, it took me a long time to feel like people actually truly wanted a Patreon from me, like I was worthy of having one. I don't know if this makes sense. It's just my own insecurities. And so I told myself last year, I was like, okay, if I hit 30K, I'm going to start a Patreon and that's it. I'm going to do it. And then I hit 30K and I was like, fuck. But no, I'm actually really excited to have the Patreon. I'm really nervous about it. Like, I'm super, super scared about it. I still, yes, I'm not going to lie. Like, I can't pretend that I still feel entirely like I deserve to have one, but I do. So if you want to join, it's in the description box. I'm all flustered talking about it, but as y'all know, many of you know, I am working on a book and I'm being somewhat quiet about it. The highest tier in the Patreon is going to have like sneak peeks and info about the book and like writing samples and things like that, and like chronicling the whole process of me writing this book, some deep personal insights about my story. You're like, Jessie, I don't want to pay for that, because it's like 2 in 1. You get the writing stuff and then you get the book stuff, and you're like, Jessie, I don't care about that. I don't care about your book, homie. Then just stick to the lower tiers. There's still gonna be like sprints and just live shows and fun and buddy reads and fun stuff. So I'm like so nervous talking about this. So that's gonna do it for this video. I hope that y'all feel that this was a nuanced discussion. I really appreciate y'all listening to me just like get my feelings out of my body regarding this, because it really, I make a lot of jokes, but this situation was really hard for me in a lot of ways that I think a lot of people who aren't trans, or in some who even are trans, don't understand why it's like so upsetting to so many of us. But to those of you who do understand and support me, support those of us who were affected, I just really appreciate it. We appreciate it. It feels nice to be seen. If you made it this far in the video, why don't you leave a coffee, like a mug emoji, or you can leave the word owl or an owl emoji. Oh my god. Owlcrate literally said, "Owl will be back." Get it? Owl. Owl. I'm gonna go now. Okay. Owl. See myself out. Okay, I'm going.